Ever wondered how a medieval peasant could go from rags to riches? Forget what you've seen in movies. It wasn't all mud, misery, and waiting for a knight to save the day. The truth is, even in the rigid society of the Middle Ages, there were side hustles, and some of them could make you surprisingly wealthy. Welcome to the Medieval Guide to Getting Rich. Oversimplify. Let's set the scene. You're a peasant. Your life revolves around the seasons. Work in the land for a lord in exchange for a tiny plot of your own and protection. It's a tough gig. Your days are long. The work is backbreaking. And most of what you produce goes straight to the manor house. You're basically stuck, right? Well, not exactly. The key wasn't to work harder on your lord's land, but to work smarter on your own time. The most common side hustle was simply mastering a craft. If you were good with your hands, you had a ticket to a better life. Take blacksmithing. Every village needed one. You weren't just shoeing horses. You were making nails, hinges, tools, and sometimes even weapons. A skilled smith was indispensable. You could trade your wares for food, livestock, or cold hard cash. And the best part? You weren't tied to the farming calendar. While others were plowing fields, you were forging your future, one hammer strike at a time. Then there were weavers and tailors. Cloth was a massive industry. Everyone needed clothes, from the simplest tunic to the fanciest robes for the local lord. If you could spin wool into thread or weave that thread into fabric, you had a valuable skill. Women, in particular, often ran this side hustle from their own homes. They'd sell their cloth at local markets, and a good weaver could earn a steady income, contributing significantly to the family's wealth. It was a slow process, but it was reliable. But what if you wanted to think bigger? Let's talk about the brewers. Ale was the water of the Middle Ages. Literally, water was often unsafe to drink. So everyone drank ale, even children. A woman who could brew a good batch of ale. An alewife could turn her kitchen into a mini pot. She'd put up a sign, an ale stake, and neighbors would come by to drink. This wasn't just pocket money. It could be a full-blown business. Some alewives became so successful they ran entire taverns, becoming respected and wealthy members of their community. Now, for the risk-takers, the hustlers who played a more dangerous game, I'm talking about poaching. The forests were the lord's property. The deer, the boars, the rabbits all belonged to him. Hunting them was illegal, and the penalties were severe. You could be fined, maimed, or even executed. But the rewards? Venison was a luxury food. A single deer could fetch a huge price on the black market, enough to feed your family for weeks. It was a high-risk, high-reward venture that many desperate or daring peasants were willing to take. Another clever hustle was milling. Every village needed a miller to grind grain into flour. The catch? The mill was usually owned by the lord, who charged a hefty fee for its use. But a savvy peasant might build a small, illegal hand mill called a quarry. You could grind your own grain for free and even secretly grind your neighbor's grain for a small fee. It was a direct challenge to the lord's monopoly. And if you got caught, your mill would be smashed. But it was a way to keep more of your hard-earned grain in your own hands. Let's not forget the power of the market. Weekly markets and annual fairs were the epicenters of medieval commerce. This was where you could sell your surplus goods. Maybe you had a few extra chickens, a basket of eggs, or some vegetables from your garden. It might not sound like much, but over time, it added up. A peasant with a good garden and a knack for sales could slowly build a small nest egg. They could use this money to buy more land, more livestock, or even buy their freedom from the lord. This leads to the ultimate goal, freedom. A freeman was no longer tied to the land. They could move, work for whomever they wanted, and keep all their earnings. Buying your freedom was incredibly expensive, but it was the dream. And these side hustles were the path to achieving it. Every extra coin earned from brewing ale, selling cloth, or crafting a perfect horseshoe was a step toward a new life. Of course, the system was designed to keep peasants in their place. Lords, taxes, and societal rules were constant obstacles. But human ingenuity is a powerful force. People have always found ways to improve their situation, to innovate, and to hustle. The medieval peasant was no different. They were entrepreneurs in their own right, navigating a complex world with skill, courage, and a whole lot of hard work. So, the next time you picture a medieval peasant, don't just see someone toiling in a field. Picture the blacksmith hammering away in his forge after a long day, the alewife perfecting her brew, the weaver working late into the night by candlelight, or the poacher moving silently through the woods. These weren't just peasants, they were business owners, artisans, and risk-takers, all chasing their own version of the medieval dream. They prove that no matter the era, a clever side hustle can be the key to unlocking a better future. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this trip back in time, hit that like button and subscribe for more oversimplified history. Let us know in the comments which medieval side hustle you would have chosen. See you in the next one!